In this session, we'll be looking at using snot as well as using KF sensor. Now, when I look at snot, snot is an open source intrusion detection system as well as an intrusion prevention system. Uh, snot has a preset set of rules. I can have a blacklisted type of rules, I can have whitelisted type of rules, I can have even rules which have been created by community members since it is open source. So Snot works basically mostly for Linux, but we also have a Snot executable file for Windows. So when you install Snot on Windows, it installs by default into your C drive Snot folder. So when I look at the Snot folder in depth, my Snot folder has different subfolders. It has the bin folder, which will have the main Snot executable. It will have the etc folder, which has my Snot configuration file. It will also have a log folder where the logs will be maintained, and it has a rules folder where I need to create and specify rules over. So first thing first is when I'm working with Snot, I need to configure Snot. I configure Snot by modifying the snot.conf file. Let's say I'll open it Notepad Plus first. So when I open the configuration file in Notepad, first thing first I need to change whatever is IP var into wherever. This IP var bit. I'll replace it. Alright. If you see over here, home underscore net is a variable where I specify my home network. Let's say my home network is 192.168.56.0/24. This is my current home network over there. So any network that is other than this can be considered as my external network over there. So what I can do when I'm creating my rules, I can use these variables during my rule creation time. So I told you that external network is any network that is the opposite of home network. So I represent opposition by using the exclamation mark, which is complement over here, and I specify that I'm saying opposite of home network. I mean to say that opposite of the variable of home network. We reference variables in Snot by giving the dollar operator. Home connect. Alright. If I scroll down, this is step 1. If I scroll down, I have different variables for ports and for servers and stuff. If I scroll down, I see a rule part. This type of slash notation is normally used by Linux. So I need to convert it and I need to specify the part to the rules folder. The rules folder is in C drive snot rules. I will just copy this and I will paste this over here. Similarly, SO rule part, it is asking for the SO rule part where I don't have this in Windows, so I will just comment out. I can comment something by using the hash sign. My preproc rules is in C drive snot preproc rule, that is my preprocessor rules. I'll paste it over here. Similarly, my whitelist rules and my blacklist rules should be both pointing to my C snot rules folder. Paste. One thing to make sure when you're specifying the folder for whitelist and blacklist, you need to go into a specific folder and create the rules file. So what I'll do is I will open Notepad and I will save this as a blank file. C drive snot rules. Now I am saving this as a blank file, so I need to make sure that my save as type is pointing to all files. I am creating my whitelist, that is I'm creating my whitelist and blacklist rules. So it is going to be named as black underscore list, and I need to add a dot rules extension for my blacklist rules. Let's see what's created. Okay, my black underscore list dot rules is created. I will just copy this and I'll paste this. I will rename this as white underscore list. Alright. Okay. So I've set up my home network variable. I've set up my external network variables. I've even specified my whitelist part and my blacklist part. Now I will keep on scrolling below till I come to a point of config log directory. Config log directory needs to be uncommented, and I will specify the path to my log folder. Let us C drive snot log, and I'll save it. My suggestion is before you start modifying this snot configuration file, take a backup of the configuration file, save it somewhere so that if you mess up the configuration file, you can always restore it from the previous or from the starting configuration. I'll scroll down. I'm in step 3 right now. In step 3, when I come to step 4, it is asking me to part to various libraries, part to the dynamic preprocessor libraries, part to the base preprocessor engine, and part to the dynamic rule libraries. So if I go into snot folder, I have a folder called lib. This lib folder has two subfolder, snot dynamic engine and snot dynamic preprocessor. So if you look at the first part, is asking me for the dynamic preprocessor directory. I will go into snot dynamic preprocessor directory, copy the entire part, and I will replace this Linux based location with the Windows based alternative. I will then see what is next. It is asking me for the libsfengine.so. Now when I look at Windows, Linux equivalent of DLLs is the .so files. So for the part of the base preprocessor engine, instead of pointing to libsf underscore engine, I will need to put the part to sf underscore engine.dll. Copy this, paste it again over here, and sf underscore engine.dll, and I will comment the last part to the dynamic rules library. If I scroll down, wherever there is a packet normalization, that is the preprocessor normalized lines, I will comment this preprocessor normalization section off. Hash, 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 and hash. I'll keep on scrolling down some more. Why did I create a file as white underscore list? If you see over here, it has taken white underscore list dot rules and taken as black underscore list dot rules over here. When I come down to step number 7, step number 7 mention my rules. Now I'm using the basic install of snot. I'm not using a community version. So by default, these rules which are here are not going to be in that folder. So what I can do, I can either comment this entire out, or I can just delete this rules. Make sure you just keep the locals underscore rules file part, because whatever rules you'll be manually creating needs to be put up in this local.rules file over here. So I will go back to my rules folder. I will make a copy of my blacklist rules and I will paste it, and I'll give it a different name, that is local underscore local.rules. Okay, so I'll scroll some down more. Okay, so this is the end of my modification for my snot.configuration file. Now you have to open a command prompt and you need to go into this C drive snot folder. When I enter the bin folder and if I do a dir, the dir will show me that snot.exe installed. One thing to make sure is before you before for snot to run, it requires the event pcap library to be installed. So if you install Wireshark or if you have manually installed the WinPcap libraries. Snort will then proceed to work further over there. First thing first is I need to check what interfaces I can use for Snort over there. So when I want to check the available interfaces, I will use Snort, comma dash minus W. So when I do snort space dash W, it tells me that it is detecting one interface. It is detecting that the interface is having an index number 1. It is also telling me what is the physical address, what is the IP address. Uh, Alright, so if I do an IP config, I can see that this machine which I'll be running Snort on is having an IP of 192.168.56.101. Similarly, from the machine which I'll be doing the attacking from, it is having an IP address of 192.168.56.102. So if I do a Snort space dash W, it'll tell me that what is the index value of my interface, that it is having index 1, it is having an IP address of 101, and it is detecting what is device name and description for it. So after I have this information, I need to first check whether Snort has been configured properly or not. I can check the configuration by using the Snort command dash I. Whatever index value was of the interface that is visible to me. If I'm only having one LAN interface, I'll put that ID over there. Then I need to specify what is the configuration file folder. The configuration file by specifying -c and the path to the configuration file. I need to also specify the path to the log folder. I want to append the output to my console or to my command prompt. And finally, when I want to, since I'm testing, I need to give a dash capital T character. If your snort has been configured properly, it'll show you that a message that has been the snort has been successfully validated and the configuration is proper and snort is existing. If you did not configure snort properly, let's say in the configuration file, if let's say in the configuration file I have done a mistake with my dynamic libraries. Let's say if I by mistake I added a slash at the end over there, okay, and I run this again, you see that it is giving me an error. C snort etc configured 246, missing incorrect dynamic engine lib specifier. 246 is the line over here. Now over here the error is in the previous line, but it is detecting the error before my dynamic engine loads over. So because I added this extra slash, it started giving me an error over here. So let me fix it and run it again, and you can see that this has taken it properly over there. Now let's say I am creating a rule where when someone pings my machine, it will be logged. So I will open my local.rules file. So when I'm working with rules, my rule format is what action do I want to take. Since I want to alert the user, I'm mentioning alert. If I want to log the packet, I can use log. If I want to pass the packet, I can use pass over there. Then I need to specify the protocol. Ping is a command that is using the ICMP protocol. Then I need to specify the IP address or the network that the data is coming from. Let's say that this is my IP address is 101. So I wanted to log any traffic that is coming from 192.168.56.102. The port number can be anything. I want the flow to be from left to right. If I want a bidirectional logging or bidirectional flow, I can use this operator over here. Or if I want the flow to come from right to left, I can use it this way over here. And I'm specifying that what is my IP address of my machine running this not service. It should be anything. Okay. So what does rule mean? That it will throw me an alert for any ping that is coming from .102 to my snot machine that is having an IP of 101, and irrespective of what port the data is being transferred upon. Now I can specify what do I want to raise the alert upon. So I need to have open and closed like a bracket over here, a curve bracket. Let's say I want a message to be displayed. That message should be showing that ping detected. Okay, I can specify different sections of my rule or different parameters by placing them after a semicolon. So since I'm creating a rule, I need to give it some sort of serial ID or some sort of ID which I can identify it. If I'm going to a log, if I'm having maybe 20,000 rules, out of 20,000 rules, which rule is this specific rule? So I can give it identifier by giving the SID value. Let's say I'll give it an SID value of maybe 20,002. If I want this rule to be only alerted or to be raised depending upon some specific content, I can use the keyword content, and I can give the content in the form of hexadecimal strings over here. Let's say in this current rule I'm just creating it that way it'll raise an alert when a ping comes from .102 to my machine, and it'll give me a message that ping detected, and it'll show me that it is using an SID of 20,002 over there. I will save my rules file. I'll go back into snot, and to run this snot service I will then remove the -t off. So when I remove the -t off, it'll show me that commencing packet processing. Now let's say when I go into my machine over here and I give it a ping command, ping 192.168.56.101. If you see over here, my machine is pinging the snot machine 4 times, and it has raised 4 times. It has raised an alert 4 times over here. If I go and decipher the entire alert message, this alert was raised on 19th of December at 5:24 p.m. It is rule number 20,002. It is rule number or SID number 20,002. It is giving a message that ping has been detected, and it is mentioning that this is the ICMP protocol that has been giving the raising the ICMP protocol was used, and it is messaging what was the computer that this ping came from. It came from 102. Who was the machine, the ping destined for? It was destined for 101 over there. Let's say I will close this right now. So when I do a control C, it shows me a summary of the entire snot, like on which interface it came, how many packets were come, how many packets were analyzed, how many packets were dropped, filtered, injected, and stuff. So let's say if I go back to the logs folder, when I go back to the log folder, it shows me a snot log. If I open it with notepad++, it is a totally unreadable thing. If I wanted to create a log that is readable to me, I can specify a format that maybe let it generate in a form of an ASCII type of thing. So if I give a -k and I give ASCII, if I give it -k ASCII and I hit enter, it starts not again. So let's say I will remove this log file which I previously generated, and I do a ping again. Now if you go to see, snot has now generated a log on the categorization of an IP address. The ping came from .102. Hence it created a folder of 192.168.56.102. If I open this file, I can see this ICMP echo file is generated and IDS file has been generated. If I open this in Notepad, the same message which was displayed to me in the console, the same message is now in a readable format. I can see what type it was. It was a type 8. It was using ICMP protocol. It had a time to live of 120 milliseconds. I can see what was the IP length. I can see what was the sequence number. I can see a type of packet. It was an echo type of packet over there. Another good thing of Snort you can do is, now when I've been running Snort right now, I've been manually giving the command and starting Snort up. But what happens if you want to generate, or if you want to start Snort as a service over there? So when I want to install Snort as a service, let's say I will clear up this entire logs again. So when I want to install Snort as a service in Windows, if I open my services.msc, I can see that there's no Snort type of thing over here. So when I want to install Snort as a service in Windows, I need to use the Snort /service /install option. Let's see, does it show me any help information? No. So I will install Snort /service /install. I will then specify it should be using my event viewer. I will specify that it should use an ASCII format of storing the logs. I will point it to my configuration file. I will specify the log folder. Let's see if it installs it. Alright, when I hit enter, it'll ask me, it'll tell me it is attempting to install the Snort service. The full path of Snort binary appears to be Snort /service. It'll mention that it added a registry keys over there. So if I go into services again, if I refresh, I can see that a Snort service has been visible. By default, the Snort service is a manual service. If I want to change it to automatic, I can just right click into properties, change the startup type to automatic over there. Let's say right now I'll just start the Snort service. Snort has started, and let's say I will close the command prompt, so I'm not manually starting it up from commands. Snort service is running, and if I go back into my machine, if I do a ping again, it's pinging right now, and you can see that the Snort service is running in the background, and because of the ASCII command, it is now creating the respective folder for it. So how do I check, like maybe I've done a mistake in the Snort service creation. If I want to view information about the Snort service, Snort/pin. Okay, so if I want to view information about Snort service, I can give the Snort keyword. I can then mention service, and let's say if I want to show information. So if I go to see here right now, it is telling me that Snort service has been installed with these parameters: -e, -k, ASCII, -c, c colon snort, etc. snort.configuration, -l, and the snort log folder. Just stop the snort service for the time being. Moving on, the next part of this practical is using a thing called the honeypot. Now, when we think of honeypots are software that exists on a network that actually creates like a virtual network or a virtual sort of system where it is trying to take away the attention of any sort of attackers by making that virtual network or virtual system look more valuable than the main system over there. So if I'm having a honeypot running, if an attacker tries breaking into a network, the first thing first is it'll see my honeypot type of virtual network. To him, it'll look like a real network, it'll look like a real system, it'll look like a very valuable system over there. And because of which he will start attacking that system over there. Now, the main use of honeypots is that using honeypots, a company or any sort of person that is running the honeypot, he can study the attacker's attacks on it, look at the attacks, use the information about the attacks, find out what vulnerabilities were exploited, and accordingly patch or fix his main system of those respective vulnerabilities, or he can better his system such that maybe down the line if another attacker attacks the honeypot and maybe he breaks to the honeypot and find the owner system, because of the information he learned before of the previous attack, he was able to fix or strengthen the security of his main network over there. So for the honeypot practical, we'll be using a program called KF Sensor. KF Sensor is manufactured by a company called as Key Focus. So when I launch KF Sensor, I need to set up the thing. So I need to set up machine IP ports that are running native services. So 21 is using FTP, 25 is using SMTP, 80 is using IS. Now click next. If I want to send email alerts to someone, I can specify an email address over here into and an email from, and I click on finish. If I look at the left hand side, the left hand side is showing me a port based view. Now the moment someone tries to attack my port or someone tries to do a port scanning or something, it'll start showing me up red type of entries over here. I can even view it on the basis of visitors over here. So let's say I'm having TCP and I'm having UDP ports where currently these are being monitored and these are green over there. Let's say I will do a port scan from an attacking machine. So on this machine I'm having a software called as MegaPing, where MegaPing will allow me to do different sort of network type of scanning type of options over there. So let's say I want to do a port scanner. When I'm doing a port scanner, I have my target machine at 101, and let's say I want to do it on authorized ports. If you see right now, there is nothing that is being red flagged over here. The moment I start the scan, you can see that it is throwing up different sort of alerts. So I can see what is the machine visitor name. That visitor name is victim. I can see that some sort of port scan data has been received over here. If I keep on scrolling down, I can see that on port number that scan was done on port number 2 using the det Trojan over there. The visitor came from 102 and his port 1148 was sending me data to my machine's port number 2. Similarly, if I keep on scrolling down, I can see the same det Trojan was used over here on port number. If I see on port number 19, the Trojan was used on this. So if I click on these type of port numbers at the left hand side, I can see that the det Trojan was sent to port number 44, 18 and 2. I can see that the echo was done, an echo was sent, and I can see that it is showing me a port scan warning over here. Similarly, if I go to discard, if I see discard, or if I go to see other type of ports, I can see more information.